Bienvenidos. You're listening to the Careers Without Connections podcast, the podcast for first generation professionals building their careers from scratch and navigating unfamiliar spaces. I'm your host, Gianna Linares, and today I am very excited to introduce you to Liz Nguyen. She is a first generation entrepreneur, master's graduate, and chief evil officer, CEO of SMP Factor. Like many of you in the audience, she was proudly raised by immigrants and is the first in her family to achieve many academic and career milestones. Through her consulting practice, SMP Factor, she specializes in working with women and entrepreneurs from underrepresented communities to surface how you're actually wired, unpack what's been running in the background, and build systems around that reality. So, thank you so much today for joining us, Liz.
Thank you. You're so good at this.
Oh my gosh, girl, you have to go back and like watch my first couple of ones. Like the energy and like I think they call it the like camera presence has like day and night. And I'm only getting started, but I have to tell anyone watching this podcast, and if you resonate with anything that you hear or you enjoy it or you're returning, just know that this podcast literally came to fruition because of Liz. So I basically met her during a period of a lot of uncertainty in my life last year. And I thought I was like gonna start a ghostwriting business. And I happened to just reach out and network with her. And I was starting to do my whole social media journey, and she asked me, okay, so like, what's your end goal with everything? And I told her, okay, I'd really love to have my own podcast. And she asked me in a very kind manner, she was like, well, if that's your end goal, why don't you just start there? And that question basically really, really made me think and reflect and ponder. And ultimately was what pushed me to just rip the band aid off and get going and get started with the podcast. So, everyone behind the camera, thank Liz for, for asking me that question.
Oh my goodness. I can't believe it's almost a year since we chatted and just talk about that. And it's so interesting how just a simple question can create such a domino effect.
Yeah, and I think just also to the importance of exposure to different people and talking to different people because uh when I reached out to you, I just knew that you had like good energy. I could tell by the way that we briefly interacted through social media posts that you seemed very kind and like someone who had knowledge, and of course, your brand and was interesting, and your the type of work that you do is interesting to me, but I feel like people tend to kind of get a little bit siloed with their network and who they want to talk to. And I'm just so glad that I branched out. And I would have never thought that I would have learned so much from you and all the stuff that you're doing with your business and the stuff that you're doing with Human Op too.
Yeah. Can you elaborate on what you mean by people siloing on who they connect with? Because that's interesting. I've never thought about that. And I'm interested in what your view of it is.
Yeah, I feel like just people tend to stick to their industries.
Mm.
And especially when people are comfortable, they don't like to branch out. And I think that people are very quick to say, well, I don't, on face value, I guess, just off my initial glance, I guess literally judging a book by its cover, I don't have anything in common with this person. And
Mm.
I think especially that's very common with age groups too. I feel like
Mhm.
in all industries, age groups kind of tend to want to stick with their own. At least that's what I've experienced. Like when I go to
Mhm.
networking events, I feel like the younger crowds want to stick to the younger crowds and the older crowds want to stick among themselves. But I think there's so much value to be had in the exchange of people from different walks of lives and different lived experiences.
Agreed. 100% agreed. I Now that you're painting the picture for me, I can see that in a lot of the networking I do, in person and virtually, and how that tends to easily drift into staying comfortable versus pushing ourselves to meet other people, even if they might not be directly of our target audience or whoever we're aiming for when we network, just being open to it.
Yeah, definitely. But backtracking a little bit, Liz, I'm sure everyone that was listening to your kind of intro found the EVIL acronym in your title really interesting, which that stands for empathetic, vulnerable, impish, and leadership. And I wanted to ask you a little bit. I've never had the opportunity to kind of ask you the origin of that acronym and how it kind of came to be and why you choose to integrate those things into your business. Like, I can always feel definitely how you center empathy and vulnerability in your business, but how do you feel like that's become such a core foundation to the point where it's literally in your title?
Yeah, I'm surprised I've never told you about that. That's tends to be the first question people ask me when we first connect. They're just like, "What is evil?" Maybe I didn't use it yet at that time that we connected. Anyways, so the story behind it is me and my best friend. We worked together back in Arizona, and while we were working together, we're just like a silly couple. Whatever we did, we just were goofing off, having fun. And it started with us submitting a webinar for, I can't remember off the top of my head what it was, but it's at the university. So they tend to solicit and request for like people who want to share wisdom, knowledge, and growth. So me and my friend, we submitted one, and it started with leading with empathy. And we're like, this is silly of a webinar to do. It seems so straightforward, right? Like, in my opinion, as someone who values empathy beyond anything else, is like, it just seems no duh. So when we submitted it, we got accepted, and we're like, okay, cool. And then when registration started coming in, it was during pandemic, so everything was virtual. They had a cap of 500 people because that's what Zoom could hold at the time. We hit 500 people RSVP. And I was just like, what the hell? Like, this is such a straightforward concept to me. Like, my brain just like, I live this and I breathe this. What do you mean there's 500 people RSVPing for this webinar? This shouldn't be this popular. Um, and we had a great turnout. We had like, I think over 400 because it's free. So some people don't trickle in. And through the feedback of all of it, people told us like, "Oh, it's so great to be reminded of this. Like, I understand it the way you framed it. It makes sense. Like, more people should be doing this." And that came to a shocker to me and my friend that were like, "This is crazy. This is wild." And that kind of was the starting point where we started playing with the idea of what empathy, leading with empathy, could be like, and just our nature itself, like the word impish, we like to make it silly, we like to make it fun. It's just who we are. So through different iterations, we landed on evil because we thought it was kind of funny. Like, oh, people think evil as a bad thing. It's like, oh, but what if we reframe it and say evil as a kind of good thing and just be silly about it? And people just start questioning. It's like, why is that person called evil? Why is it evil? And now since I've stepped into it and embraced it, obviously I don't work at the university with my friend anymore, but stepping into the terminology of evil, people now recognize me and I don't even know them. They're like, "You're the evil person. I've seen your name somewhere." And I'm like, "Where? I don't recognize you." But it's fun. And then that's always a good opener for a lot of networking conversations too.
Yeah, and I feel like it's attention grabbing too. Like, it's a useful marketing tactic that I thought you kind of that was your that I thought that was the type of answer that you were going to give me was like, "Oh, like it's kind of attention grabbing, so I kept it." But I think especially when it comes to business, people really don't think of empathy and vulnerability. I think they tend to think the complete opposite of it.
I think it's not even just business. I think it's just where we are in society today. Um, because there's a facade with social media of showing our best image forward, showing that we live the best life, the good, the greatest, the happiest moments, insert whatever. And I don't think people are doing it intentionally, like consciously intention. Um, but because of that, we forget the vulnerability part. And then with where the US society is and all of that, the empathy is a little bit hard because we're so drained from everything asking because media shows the worst of the worst. And then to be empathetic to every single content you consume there is draining. So I think with that, that's why today it feels empathy and vulnerability is even less prominent. And that's not just for business, but just society in general, unfortunately, from my perspective.
I could see that, especially with your point to the introduction of social media. I've seen discussion about how your brain is just not wired to take in so much vast types of information and such like extreme things all at once, because you can scroll and you can see something overwhelmingly sad and then something overwhelmingly violent and something overwhelmingly happy.
Mhm.
And so I think it definitely plays a role in desensitizing people to those types of things.
100%. And then the algorithm, because they want you to stay on the social media, right? So if you stay 2 seconds longer on something, it ends up showing you something similar to that again. So if you stay a little bit long on the violent, then it shows you something more violent. It's like, oh my God. And then it keeps repeating itself.
Yeah. I feel like I'm constantly trying to train my algorithm to feed me things that are actually very educational and helpful. I try to make a point to only engage with, like, okay, this is something of value. This is something that is going to improve my mood, or it's going to teach me something that's going to make my life better or easier. But it's hard because ultimately those people who it's their jobs to make those social media apps as addictive as possible and to make people want to continue to go down the rabbit holes as quickly as possible. There's like a science to it.
Yeah. Yep. I try to treat social media as something fun. Like I don't look for it for news anymore. I don't look it for education. Like sometimes it still pops up and that'll be nice, motivational, but I try to treat it as like watching a movie. It's just like something fun and I won't say silly, but just something fun and recreational. That's the word I'm looking for.
Yeah. I noticed that you've been kind of a little bit more on your LinkedIn game recently, though. And you've been expanding with your content, and I've been seeing video content. How's that experience been for you?
Hard. And when I say hard, I mean it's hard to maintain the cadence. I like to do things ad hoc. I don't like playing the algorithm game, even though I know it's like the necessary evil. You kind of need to in order to get like leads and get in front of people, etc. So there's trying to find that balance, and I haven't figured it out for now. Like my LinkedIn and Instagram is just like if something comes to me and I want to share it, I just do a quick talking head and then just share it and edit. It's like, okay, this is it. Might edit some ums and uhs out there, but raw, keep it simple because if I do any more, I'm gonna keep procrastinating. And then I think the nice part of it that makes it less hard is I want to just share for the sake of sharing. I'm not looking for anything in return. So then that helps a little bit with like sometimes the anxiety that I used to have is like, oh, is this good enough? It's like, I'm just sharing, like as if I'm talking to a friend.
Yeah. Do you feel like you'd be on social media at all if it wasn't something that has increasingly become a tool to support businesses?
That's a great question. Would I be on social media at all? I
I
would.
don't feel like I would be on social media at all.
Oh, really?
Genuinely, yeah. But I used to have like all my apps deactivated for years, for like a long
Oh.
time. I was really low key with that type of stuff,
Mm-hmm.
but I just kept seeing these people having these really amazing opportunity and doing things that I wanted to do and
Yeah.
seeing, I kind of just look at it almost as like this, like the gold rush. Like when the gold rush happened,
Mm-hmm.
whatever amount of years ago, everyone kind of flocked to it. Or I guess also
Mm-hmm.
with crypto too, like everyone kind of flocked
Yeah.
to it. And right now, that's just kind of the content creation world and it's only projected to grow. And for me, I have only kind of feel like really dipped my toes into it, but the outcomes of the types of opportunities that I have received as a result of doing that and putting myself out there and being visible have only been positive for me in terms of opportunities, but also just the self development. Because I think there's a lot of misconception around like vulnerability on social media. I think people think that you have to share every single little detail, or people like to post videos of themselves crying and stuff. And that's the thing about social media is like it's what you want to share. Like you can really pick and choose, and like there are things that you
Mhm.
can share that give a little bit more insight to you and your life and maybe things that are sensitive and vulnerable topics to you. But I have very much overshared before and then gone back a few months later and then been like, actually, I'm going to delete this. But there are times where I do share like my mistakes or like things that at the time when they happened, I was really embarrassed. And now I'm over to like reflect on it and know that because I did that and because that happened, that made me smarter and I learned a lesson from it and I'm able to share that. And
Mhm.
that stuff always resonates well. And I have gotten comments and messages telling people how it's helped them. So, of course, it's always worth it in that aspect too.
I think for business, to answer the question if I would be on social media if it wasn't because of business, I would say yes. Because even before my business, I used to take a stand on social media where I'm like, I'm a consumer, not a creator. I enjoy consuming recreationally, seeing what people are creating. Like it's just an art form, and I just appreciate it. Um, yeah, but over time, as I kind of shed an old, as maybe not shed, as I evolve and step in owning to what I am capable of doing and realizing it and embracing it, I think like social media is a great way to share knowledge and like tips like you were saying about our mistakes so other people can learn from them too, right? And that's always been something I love doing, like not on social media before, but like with friends and people I meet when I was working with students, teaching like all different areas. Like I'm like, I made this mistake, don't make it. If you make it, I prefer you just like find another mistake and like learn from mine so you can thrive in other ways, right? Um, yeah, so now that I'm stepping into owning what I'm capable of doing, I feel like social media is that one way that I can help and touch more people, um, without having to do that one on one, right? Like sometimes I talk to other businesses and they're like, yeah, I only got like 200 people to view my video. I'm like, that means 200 people have seen you. Like, would you have ever stood in front of a room and 200 people and been like, oh, it's only 200 people? They're like, oh, I guess not. I'm like, yeah, you don't need 5 million people, 1 million, like that's 200 more people that seen. Like maybe that's not converting for a business, and that's different um, analytics. But for me, as someone who's just sharing, I'm like, I'm unattached to what comes out of it. I just want to share. So that becomes very helpful in saying, oh, so many people, 20 people view it. Cool. 20 people got something a little bit out of it and they stuck around.
I always tell myself, as long as I get like one like, I'm okay with it. That means one person saw it and they resonated. I don't think that's ever, maybe that's happened to me on LinkedIn, because LinkedIn, I feel like it's just kind of a different platform than TikTok or
Mm-hmm.
Instagram. But I always tell myself, I'm like, as long as I get like, if I get 0 likes, then that's a red flag that I published something and absolutely 0 people found any sort of value from it at all. Um, but I mean, at the same time, I don't think it's also you good to seek validation of your knowledge and your skill set from something like social media,
Mm-hmm.
because if anything, for me, I think it just has allowed me to refine the way that I already do things that I am talented at and that I'm good at, and just kind of even just communicate it better, or even just get to the point faster.
Mm-hmm.
And, sometimes I feel like in my life, I try to explain things to people and I feel like I'm spelling it out for them. And then their response tells me that they didn't get it at all.
Yeah.
And I feel like I've learned to look at it as like, okay, like where was my lack of communication? And
Mm-hmm.
how could I improve it? I think people tend to really, like, I feel like I've even gotten this before too, dealing and like working with a lot of men in my industry.
Mm-hmm.
Is sometimes they send you like the vaguest messages with the vaguest instructions, and then you think you got it and then you send it to them and then they're like, yeah, no, I actually wanted this thing that was completely different. And they have the audacity to be like kind of rude about it, and I'm like, if I gave you these same instructions, you would understand like where I was coming from.
Mm-hmm.
But that's just me in my personal experiences at work in the government relations field where I'm at right now.
No, I get that. It reminds me back when I was working at the university. And I think like one of the things as an entrepreneur now, sometimes people also send vague things. Um, is the take on it is like never assume. Now I ask like a bajillion clarifying questions, like, what do you mean by this? Are you wanting this or that? And then just keep going. And then I was like, if you find this annoying, please just be clear at the beginning. And then I wouldn't bombard you with a bajillion questions.
You are really good at asking clarifying questions. I think I've noticed that from the interactions that we've had. Like, you always ask for clarity and to understand. You even did that at the beginning of this episode. And I think it's not just beneficial for you to like better understand people, but I also appreciate that it has oftentimes prompted me to reflect even harder and like think even deeper. And so I think that's a wonderful thing that you do.
Just position yourself as curious, and it kind of happens just naturally, at least for me. I always want to learn from people, and I think everyone has wisdom to share regardless of their age, industry, and experience. I was like, we all live very different lives, right? No two people live the same life. So I was like, tell me more about your life and how you think and how you process, and let me learn. Yeah. So
Can you think of anything that you learned recently from an interaction that you were like, oh, I would have never thought of it that way, or I would have never come to this idea had I not learned this from this type of person?
wow. That's a that's a hard one just because I feel like for me right now, where with what I'm doing in my business operationally as an operations consultancy, and then on top of that, working with Human Up as a startup, I interact with so many people and we're working on supporting them to be the best version of themselves. So it's very much coaching I that happens almost like every day. Like I see that with every person I interact with, and I notice little things about people and their utterances, and I'm like, that's interesting. Do I poke the bear or do I leave you to continue on that path? And being very cognizant of when is an appropriate time to ask further questions versus like, okay, they're not in the mood. When is it time to like back off and just let things be? Yeah. I don't know if I answered your question. I kind of rambled there.
You didn't ramble at all. I actually recently had a meeting and we had only scheduled it for 30 minutes. And at the very end, I was like, okay, well, like our meeting is going to end soon. So, like, let's take like these last like 5 minutes and just like, I want to hear about you. And I think he talked for 20 minutes straight.
He talked for 20
And
minutes, right?
yeah. At the very end, I felt so bad because he was like, oh, like, so what are your thoughts? Like, what do you think? And I was like, I gotta go back to work. Like, I'm so sorry. Like, we're like almost 30 minutes over time. But it was also like, I also didn't want to stop him because he was talking about something that he was like truly so passionate and excited about.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I don't know. Like sometimes when you just make the connection with the right person and it's like, oh, I only scheduled the 30-minute conversation and that's just the time frame that we both have built our whole schedules around for the day, and sometimes you're just not able to work around that, because people are busy and you got to stick to the time frames. But that's just kind of just the hard part of when you connect with people that you're like, oh gosh, like I feel like I have so much more to say to you and that I want to learn about you. But you know that's okay. That just means you can keep that door open and follow up with them later.
Yeah, that happens quite frequently. And I think there's something that I've done for myself, and this is not to give you advice, but it's just like I think about how frequently it happens to other people. And I realize is like the way America works is we work on schedules, right? Like I live by my calendar, don't get me wrong, but we work on like a hustling kind of schedule where it's like back to back, go, 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 nonstop. If you're not doing something, you're not producing. If you're not producing, you're not valuable. And that was something I realized last year when I was doing a lot of networking. I was like, huh, this is weird. I don't like this feeling of this back to back. I was like, oh, it's 30 minutes. I have another call. I have to cut you off right now, even though the conversation and everything was flowing. And after I realized that for myself, I started planning like an extra 30 minutes for everything. I was like, I still schedule for 30 minutes in case I don't like people. But then I give myself an extra 30 minutes in case I do like them, and just giving that flow to continue the conversation, because I have a belief it's like there's 7 billion people on this world. What are the chances that we cross path with this specific individual in front of us at this specific time frame? Like there's something special about that, right? And to respect and just notice that, and it's like changed my view on things, and now I look at every individual as someone really special. I'm like, okay, how do what's this person meant for me in this moment of time that we're crossing path? What are the opportunities here? Am I supposed to help them? Are they supposed to help me? What's happening? And just noticing that.
That's a very nice way to look at it. I never thought about it that way.
Yeah. And it's something I started shifting myself to take only because I've noticed American culture, and then for context, I'm Vietnamese, and I remember very vividly when my cousin from Vietnam came over to visit, and I was working a 9 to 5 job, and he's like, "Liz, why don't you like take PTO and come hang out with us or something?" And I was like, "I'm busy. I need to work." Okay, like yeah, you flew over here to take a vacation. That's nice. I need to work. And then he told me that I took like so much offense to. He's like, "You Americans hustle too much. You don't know how to play." And I was like, "What do you mean? I need to make money." And he said, like, "Yeah, in Vietnam we need to make money too, but we work hard and play hard. Where's your play? Where's your fun? Like, are you just gonna do this forever?" And I'm like, "You don't understand." So then we didn't continue the conversation, but then that sat with me like for years until I decided to shift into entrepreneurship. And I was like, yeah, I chose this life so I could have that freedom to work hard, play hard. There's times for it, and then give myself the flexibility to appreciate the moment of every day with every person instead of like back to back. It's like go, go, go. It's like, well, what's the point of that? Then we're not living, in my opinion. Maybe some people like living that way, and that's fine. That's their choice. For me, I don't like that living style. So I was like, I want that freedom to give the person more time if needed for us to just appreciate that moment together.
Yeah. I definitely really feel like you're the first, one of the first people I've ever met that makes such an effort to really incorporate like true connection and support and empowerment through your business and through the people in your network. And I feel like you network so unselfishly. And you were like, I remember you are in fact the only person that has ever sent me a follow up to fill out a form so that you can keep in the back of your mind or like keep actual data of how you can support me in the future. And so I think even some people would say that that's like a contrarian business approach, and especially within even within different cultures across the US. Like I think people look at, for example, networking in Miami, they look at it as very very transactional. So why does this approach resonate with you so much, and how do you feel like it's impacted your business and your entrepreneurship?
I have to give credit to where credit's deserved. I didn't come up with the follow up. Brandon Drake was the person who introduced me to this whole system, and he's amazing. I met him, let's see, we're in August 2026. Ooh, so I met him around November 2024. It's been almost 2 years. And I remember having the conversation with him where I'm like, oh, I hate networking. It's so transactional, right? It feels like you scratch my back, I scratch your back. Here's this, give me something back, etc. And what he said to me stuck with me, and that's how I operate my business is modeling after him, where he's like, well, if you approach every person as how can I help them, then it's less transactional, even if they don't help you. Because at the core of it, it's what you want more than what they want, right? And I was like, oh, I guess if I looked at it that way, then it feels like I'm just making a new friend. So I started doing that, implementing it, and he helped me set up the systems for myself with a follow up. So then I can actually remember people because I was like, yeah, there's so many people, but I don't know how to categorize, organize all of that. And that has helped tremendously because in times where I am connecting with people, my brain goes like, that one person who does marketing would vibe really well with this person. Shoot, what's their name? What's their name? I know I met them around this time, and my brain's like, oh my God, I can't remember. And the system helps me just go back really quick and it's like, okay, I found them. And I reach out and be able to bridge that connection. Um, yeah, and then like for me, it's just like it feeds me. It makes me feel so much happier to cultivate opportunities for people. And a big part of it comes from being an immigrant family, comes from being raised by immigrants, where I didn't get all those opportunities. Very similar to you, careers without connections, right? My parents are technically entrepreneurs, so they didn't understand like the 9 to 5 resumes. I had to figure all of that out myself. I'm the oldest in my family, so then everything I knew gets handed off to siblings and cousins, which I didn't like. I don't resent them or hold anything against them. Like, I'm more than happy to share. I'm like, I don't want you to have to figure this out yourself. But I already ran through the mud. Let me tell you, don't go this way. Go that way. Shortcut that. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
of
like,
course.
because of all of that, that's just ingrained in me and how I operate. Like, I just want to make it easier for people and give to people as much as possible, in hopes that something else good will come around. Maybe not directly from them, maybe from something else, but what goes around comes around.
Yes, I was literally just about to say I'm a firm believer in what goes around comes around. And I think if you're a person who puts out abundance and just
Mhm.
amazing energy and positive vibrations into the world, then it's just bound to make its way back to you. And I also just feel like, coming off as less of like a networking shark and more of just like, okay, I genuinely want to know about how I can help you. And by the way, this is how you can help me. Like, that's just such a good, it leaves a much better lasting impression.
Mhm.
Excuse me. Do you feel like you can think of any specific instances of how this approach has ended up benefiting your business?
Specific incidents. I was like, is there specific? I feel like everything about my business is like that. Oh, okay. So here's one that's in the works, but I feel very blessed and honored for this. Is I have a friend and met her through my partner. We all climbers and everything, and then we're just like chatting. I told her where I am. She's also a business owner, runs 2 businesses, and then I had an idea about doing a intimate brunch for women entrepreneurs, wanting to connect them and be very intentional in creating that space. I ran that idea through her, and then I told her, I was like, oh, sorry. I just want to have someone to bounce ideas off. I'm actually not asking for real opinions because I'm going to run with it anyways, but I'm insecure. So I was like explaining how I operate with her. And then, like, I wasn't asking anything. And then I think that night she listened to everything. And then she texted me back and she's like, Liz, go do it. And then when you do it, let me know. I'll sponsor your event. And I was like, wait, what? And she's like, yeah, I'll cover it. And I'm like, that's crazy. I just didn't imagine. I didn't ask for anything, but she just believes in me and what I want to do and impact. And overall, she's just a good person too. Like, I have been bringing her in and connecting her with other people even before that offer of sponsorship. I was like, what are you looking for? How can I help you? What is it that you want? And if whenever people tell me like they're not sure what they want, I say like, then start exercising that want muscle. Start claiming what you want, and then let me know, so then I can start paying attention. And I won't say giving you what you want, but help bridge that gap as much as possible.
And what do you feel like that's really interesting because I feel like you and Wei have both kind of said certain things along the lines of exercising, like kind of like asking for what you want. And what's the significance of that and like the want muscle? Like why do you think that's so important?
It's so important because we don't do it enough. We tend to say what we don't want. And when we keep saying what we don't want, unconsciously, what happens, or in the subconscious, what happens is our brain is overloaded with a lot of information, right? So then it wants to condense and make things very concise and succinct. So when we say, I don't want a hard life, the brain's like, okay, you don't want it, but I'm overwhelmed with everything that's happening. So then to negate it, it tends to drop that not out. So then it's like, I want a hard life instead of saying, I want
Mm.
an easy life. So when we say, like, I don't want something, our brains ends up trying to look for that want. Like, for example, don't think about chocolate cake. What does our brain do?
Chocolate cake.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Or to say, like, think about broccoli. Then our brain's like, okay, I'll think about broccoli. So that's where
Hmm.
the want muscle and telling people to exercise that want muscle and claim what you want, because we're so afraid of claiming what we want. Like, money is a big thing for entrepreneurs, for everyone. I had the same problem where last year I was like, oh, I don't want to make that much money. And then because of way, he's like, why not? And I was like, I don't know why not. And I started like doing a lot of internal work on it. And then eventually, like, this is a short version of it. Eventually I came to the conclusion is like I was afraid of something and I didn't want to step into it. And I thought like wanting a lot of money made me look bad. Like it's evil because of society, etc. And I was like, no, I know like if I have a lot of money, I'm not going to be an evil person. Instead, I'll make good use of it. I'll spread it out, help nonprofits, help other people, invest in other people. Money isn't bad. It's the people who end up using it for bad is bad.
Yes.
Um, so then I started being able to step in and say like, I want to make a lot of money. I want to make seven figures, and like really claiming it and not cringing. It's like, oh, do I deserve it? I was like, no, of course I deserve it. I want it. So then with that ownership and determination, it's like manifestation or rewiring your brain to start looking for opportunities that way. So when we say we want something, it helps our brain say like, okay, I want this. So how do I get it? And unconsciously, your brain just starts doing it in like unconsciously. You don't realize it. And your habit starts following afterwards too.
Yeah. I was talking to another entrepreneur. I did a podcast episode with him too. He talked about this in the podcast about how money only exacerbates or exemplifies who you already are as a person. So if you're
Mhm.
already very generous, it's going to make you more generous. If you're already very greedy, it's just going to make you more greedy.
Yep.
And I was also listening to this really interesting podcast the other day. Her name's Dr. Julie Gerner, but she's a coach with like the top earners. Like she works with very,
Mhm.
very, very wealthy people. And one thing she debunked, honestly, a lot of things about money and people who earn a lot of money. And, to your point about how society typically deems it being evil. And she was just like, like billionaires or millionaires or people that are very, very wealthy, like their businesses are supporting economies, they're creating jobs. Like you never
Yep.
know what they're doing with
Yeah.
all their extra stuff. And the other point that she made that really stuck out to me was, oh, now I'm out of blink. What did she say? This was like the main thing I wanted to get to, and I actually like completely forgot. Oh, she just said that people who earn a lot of money have great potential to then do good things with that money.
Hmm.
Like me personally, I would love to have an animal sanctuary one day, and I would love
Yeah.
to rescue animals and have, I picture it being like a farm where like the local community can come
Hmm.
and just be nice to the animals and show them love, like not like, shelters are amazing and they do amazing things. I got my dog from a shelter, but I picture it being in like a more rural area and me being able to run it in a way to where I can pay the people that work there,
Yep.
but it's really not in any way like trying to do anything other than, you know, give animals a good life. Like I don't like really like 100% picture adoption. I don't
Yeah.
know. I think there's more of those styles of places in different countries.
Hmm.
But that's like my long term, I don't know if this is the correct term, like philanthropic goal.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. After I take my aunt to Switzerland and take my mom to Europe and take my dad to the FIFA in Portugal in 4 years, after all of that.
Yeah. That's a great goal. I love it. Yeah, we need to realize that money just exacerbates things and not attach ourselves to it. There's this quote a friend shared with me that I almost live by now is you cannot out earn your identity.
Mm.
And it's just similar like money exacerbates. And if you unconsciously think you don't deserve something, you're not going to get what you end up deserving because everyone deserves everything. But it's questions like, do you believe you deserve it? Right. And if you don't believe it, then that's where you won't be able to out earn that identity. If you're like, I want to make 7 figures, like last year, for me, when I say that, I was just like, oh, I don't know if I deserve 7 figures. That's a lot of money. Should I be wanting that much money? Is this selfish of me? And then, like, it shows. It shows in how I do and how, in what I do and how I approach people. Versus today, I'm just like, yeah, I want to make 7 figures. And I'm like, I walk and I talk with confidence about it. And then it shows in how I approach and I talk to people too. And the people who end up coming into my life and what we all bring together. So, my belief on imposter syndrome is we actually don't have it. And I say that in kindness and love because the way society has set it up, specifically in the US, is it's not built for us. The system wasn't built for us. It wasn't built for women. It wasn't built for immigrants. It was mainly built for white men, right? And because of that, when we don't fit, when we touching base on what you said about being vague, emails, if you sent it, how much of a different response you'll get, right? So, like, when we don't look like a white man, we're never gonna meet whatever standards they put because at the end of the day, it's just double standards. It's double standards on us, and we're at a disadvantage, and that's because that's how the system's built. So when someone tells me, I've had a lot of people tell me, like, oh, I have imposter syndrome. I'm like, yes, you're insecure and you don't have confidence because the system isn't built for us. I don't think you have imposter syndrome. There's no imposter. You are great and amazing. You just don't have confidence in it because we don't have a positive feedback loop because we're always being asked for more and more because there's a double standard. It's like it's something that white man can do easily, and we have to do 10 times that just to prove our worth and our value.
We are up on time. Thank you so much for joining us, Liz. I, of course, want to close out the episode by asking you, is there anything that you're currently working on that you're excited about? And how can people keep up with you and connect with you if they'd like to?
I think the most exciting thing is Human Up for me. It is a panic character assessment. And when I say character, I am emphasizing things that don't change about us. It asks about how we look, our hair colors, our height, etc. And what makes that unique is unlike other assessments, which depends on your psychometrics, and you can kind of game it sometimes because it's very binary. You're either A or B, C or D, right? So Human Up emphasizes that we're very multifaceted. And through that multifaceted, we're all unique individuals. There's no one singular human being that's the same as another person. And that's the beauty of it because there's 7 layers to it, and all 7 layers has multiple variety and volumes that makes everyone different. And because of that, when someone works with me for like operations or coaching and they take the assessment, I'm able to look at them and look at their results objectively. It shows me objectively what's currently happening in your life, in your current season of life. And then through that, I'm able to navigate and talk to and meet people where they're at. And then sometimes, because how the assessment results shows, it shows me three things. It shows me where you currently are, where your potential is, and then how to bridge it. So it's so beautiful because, like, when I see these information objectively and then I can see their potential, I just go, I'm like, oh my God, there's so much. Like, everyone has potential. On top of like everything I do, I love and is exciting. But I find human op the most exciting because it can impact a lot of people and change people's lives if they're allowing it to be. So that's the one thing I would love for people just to go check out. And then how do they keep up with me? LinkedIn, Instagram. They can find me with SMP Factor. I think that's my handle. I'm not even sure at this point. I kind of just upload things and it goes on default mode for me. So I don't even know how. But yeah, Instagram and LinkedIn is how people can connect with me, chat with me, and don't be afraid to reach out and ask questions. I love connecting with people. So that's my happy thing.
And I'll leave Liz's at in the show notes and in the captions and all of that stuff. But if you made it to the end of the episode, thank you so much for watching. If anything in this episode resonated with you, of course, please like, subscribe, leave comments. That's how other people can find the podcast. So, and if you have any questions, I'm always very responsive on LinkedIn, my TikTok and Instagram, where I make a bunch of short form content about the podcast outside of what you're seeing in the podcast, is just my name at Jenna Linares. That will also be in the show notes as well. Anyways, thank you so much, guys. Ciao.